A couple of months back, I turned 35. And I just realized that I have grown into a full-fledged man. But I mean, turning 35 has led me on some form of deep introspection. And this introspection puts me on a path to be learning or searching for more knowledge. And I just finished reading this book by Cal Newport. It's so good, they can't ignore you. And it's a book that I'll definitely recommend to anyone who wants to, I mean, be so good at what they do. But this book just quickly gave me some deep understanding about a lot of things. And I'll get to them shortly. But what am I talking about today? So basically, I started working as a nurse when I was 21. And then quickly I realized that nursing is not particularly my passion, because I had an auntie who was a nurse back in the day, and she was my idol. I idolized everything about her. She was a nurse working with some NGOs and traveling the world. And I was like, this is an interesting life to live. And I want to try that, because I didn't find a way to get into uni, which was my intention at that early age. I wanted to be a lawyer, but I couldn't get into law school or into med school because my parents complained about difficulty in affording fees and so on and so forth. And so I decided to go into nursing, which was the next available option, which seemed like a good option as well. And so I realized that I tried everything I could to be a great nurse, and after some time, I just realized I was no longer enjoying it, so I decided to dabble in businesses. And I think one of the things that made me really go on this tangent was when I watched Steve Jobs' commencement speech he gave at Stanford University in 2005. Now, in that speech, he told people to follow their passion. And so I had this friend back in Ghana. We were so much vested in this whole notion of following my passion.
You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do.
And I know that people who are within the ages of 18 to 25 are mostly locked in that spectrum of finding things that actually align with your passion. But now I'm just realizing that following your passion is actually terrible advice. It's not necessarily a good advice, because there is no such a thing as passion. Passion is actually a byproduct of mastery. So when you find something to do and you become good at it, you become passionate about it. It's strictly related to becoming masterful at something. But why did it take me so long to find this out? Like, guys, and that's why I'm making this video, so that if someone is watching this and you are at that stage where you are confused about finding your passion, you disabuse your mind of some unrealistic expectations. One of the things I did to find my passion on that wild goose chase back in the day was I started a restaurant business, because I thought doing business was my passion and making money. I started a restaurant called Lunch Makers. We had girls and guys who were working, we had a team, we had a location, and we had a mobile service as well. It's just funny. All of that, when challenges came, I quit, and I was happy I quit, because apparently it was not my passion. I just wanted to make money. Then I turned out to, what else did I do? I even went on to start a farm. I went to some grocery shops in Accra, and I got a contract with them to supply them vegetables. And so I started a farm. I was growing cabbage, lettuce, green pepper, and stuff like that. I did all of that. I had workers on my farm in the eastern part of Ghana. I did all of these things because I was still on this quest to find my passion. I even picked up learning music, which I still do, to be fair. I still have my guitar here. When I came to the US, one of the things I did was to buy myself a guitar, because I left my guitar back home in Ghana, and for so many years I missed playing the guitar. So when I came, I just wanted to go back into that groove and play, because I realized that I was passionate about it. I played, well, let me just say, not passionate, I was interested in it. So I played the guitar, I played the keyboard, I even played the bass. So it was all part of the things I was dabbling in when I was trying to find what I thought was my passion. But I just realized that I had a chance to do all of these things, but I was paying the price that I didn't even think about, which was time. I did all of these things while I was still being a nurse. And so the main job I had of being a nurse was suffering because I never invested any time in growing myself. I was just doing the barest minimum as a nurse. And when I had time, I'll go for a short classes here and there and then do a simple top-up degree and become a BSNRN and so on. But I never really dedicated time and resource to becoming the best nurse I could be. But I realized in reading this book actually that, the best version of myself were things that I realized when I actually started doing when I started being good at my job as a nurse. So what am I talking about? Steve Jobs, in his famous commencement speech, spoke about following your passion, but he actually didn't follow his passion. He didn't study computer in school at all. It was actually his partner, Steve Wozniak, who was an electronic whiz and studied computing and IT in college. So Steve Jobs actually studied Western history and some form of dance and led him to go on a pilgrimage to India and all of that. So he had very little to do with computing. It was actually when he had an opportunity to sell circuit boards because he was going hungry that he decided to pitch the idea to his colleague, Steve Wozniak, who helped him build or assemble computers, and they sold to a man named Terrell, who had a computer store. So far from following your passion, he actually followed something like selling to actually make money. And I realized that the best things that have happened to me as a result of nursing. For example, I left Ghana and I went to the UK. It was simply because I was a nurse and focused on improving myself as a nurse. Then I left the UK and moved to the US where I currently work. And it's also simply because I decided to be a great nurse, write the NCLEX exams, pass the IELTS test, ace the interviews, and then get the green card and move to the US. So excitedly or interestingly, I've come to realize that my life really would have taken a meteoric rise if I had focused on being good at what I did. And this whole phrase about being so good they can't ignore you was actually mentioned in the first place by Steve Martin, the famous comedian. And people used to go and ask him, younger comedians will go and ask him, how do we become so good in what we do? And he's often quoted to say that there is no trick. The only trick is to be so good that people cannot ignore you. And I asked myself, what would have been of my career or my life currently if I decided to be so good at what I was doing that people cannot ignore me? And I know some of you will say that, going through all those passions and pursuing the other things for you to realize that you were actually not interested in them is part of the thing that led you to discovering that nursing is what you want to do. But I didn't have to go through all of that. Not everybody's going to get a chance to go through that journey and waste all the time and then come back again and achieve results like I have. Some people will not get that chance. And so the important thing to say is that you don't have to waste the time focusing on finding some non-existent passion. And interestingly, this is some truth that is stated in the Bible. But how come I never saw it? I was reading the Bible the last time, and well, this is not theology, but this is just something I just came across in the Bible, and I thought I should just, if you read Colossians chapter 3, I think verse 23, it says, work hard and cheerfully at what you do, just as though you were working for the Lord and not merely for your masters. So it's also the same thing that was said. It said in Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 10, that whatever you do well, for in that where you are going, there's no working or planning or knowing or understanding. And guys, this is what I'm talking about. Following my passion wasted a lot of my time. The primary focus of my career, of my life, should be so good at what I did and become the best version of it so that I can pivot from that field to another field if I felt I had exhausted all the interest. Because I heard it was said that if what you're doing is not something you would do if you knew that you would die tomorrow, then you better stop doing it. And I realized that it's a very profound statement and it's very true. Anything else that you wouldn't do if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, it's not a passion. It's actually a distraction. And so many people are meddling in distractions, but they tend to call those things passion, or they are pursuing your passion. I mean, I even learned to trade. I was a forex trader for so many years. I was training under a gentleman called Greg Secker, and most of you would know Greg Secker. He has a company called Learn to Trade from the UK, and he came to train people in Ghana to trade forex, and you pay about $2,000 or so. I fortunately didn't have that amount to pay back in Ghana, but I learned, I took courses, and I read so many books on forex. I was actively trading forex. I wouldn't sleep. I would stay awake at night, go to the websites, I think it's pips.com or something, to follow the news and all of that. I mean, I was in it. I was trading actively. I turned out to realize this was just a waste of money and time, because there was no millionaire or billionaire in Ghana who was a forex trader, and I could be the first, but the ecosystem was not just fashioned out to support forex traders. So I just stopped it. I even went on to be a tailor. Okay, I learned to sew and make clothes. It's something I learned to do, and it was even in recent times where COVID hit. I was making a lot of clothes for my hospital back in Ghana. I made the scraps for the whole hospital. A lot of my doctor friends were people who I was making clothes for. My nurse colleagues, when we were getting married, I was making their kaftans and tunics for some of my colleague ladies. I actually learned to sew, and it's something else that I've meddled in. When I moved to the UK, I stopped sewing. I carried on sew again, even though I have the skill to a very large extent. But all I'm saying is that all these things I did were things that do not lead me to my final destination or my final realization that actually I'm wasting my time, but my passion, or what I should be passionate about, is actually the job I'm doing. Because my largest source of income in my life ever has come from this field of nursing. It's not from being a tailor, it's not from running the restaurant business, and neither was it from the farm. And as for the forest trading, it was just draining me of money. So the only thing that actually gave me all the money I have and has given me the leverage and opportunity to travel the world and everything I've achieved was simply because I focused on being good at what I did. Being a great nurse has opened the doors for me to write and pass the NCLEX, to pass the CBT and move to the UK, and then move to the US and work, and even opportunities for people that I speak to who invite me to come to a seminar, say in Geneva or anywhere. It's simply because I'm a nurse and I focus on being good at that job. So why didn't I focus on this from all the way from the beginning? Now, coming to the end of my thoughts now, I think that the best thing anyone can do, regardless of the age you find yourself, is to develop the attitude of excelling in your job, what you do. Like, it's going to open all the doors for you. And once you get to the pinnacle of that career, you can decide whether or not you want to pivot into something else. And I think there's another scripture that says that find a man who is diligent in his work, he will stand before kings, and he will not stand before mean men, or mere men, as some versions would like to put it. But the interesting point in all of this is that whether you are a teacher, or whether you get yourself into a profession, and largely most of us find ourselves into those traditional professions, especially those of us who grew up in middle income or developing countries. You don't start life by being a musician or by being a computer wizard or something. You start your job in the formal sector. So the largest employer in Ghana and a lot of African countries is the government, and most of these jobs are teaching, nursing, and stuff like that. But you need to focus on being really good in those fields so that you develop what is called a career capital, and it's one of the terms I learned in this book as well, which allows you to essentially get to the peak of that career. And then if you want to pivot, you have the financial support that you have achieved from those jobs, and it helps you to pivot, or you use that as leverage to pivot into your next career or whatever you want to find yourself doing. And so it's essential to keep all of these things in mind when you are on this whole quest for passion. Follow your passion is not necessarily great advice. You just need to become good at what you do. And once you become masterful in your craft, passion will become a byproduct of mastery. I need to conclude this video by saying that there are some people who find their passion right from the get-go, but those people are in the absurd minority. And I mean, there may be people like Stevie Wonder or Lionel Messi and stuff like that. But those people are just very, very difficult to come by. And if you're watching this video, you're probably not one of them. So don't deceive yourself. You're probably not one of them, okay? But all I'm saying is that once you find yourself in a job, whatever you're doing, you need to get good at it. But those people who are geniuses and it works for them, those are isolated instances. And truth be told, observing isolated instances of a strategy working is not proof that it is universally effective. You can't find scattered episodes or scattered occurrences of some certain things happening and say that, oh, because this happened to this person or that happened to that person, and so it's something to go by. You are just going to deceive yourself or fool yourself at best. So I hope this video has been useful to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.